Hi there, I'm Debra Corey, co-author of Build It, a Rebel Playbook for World-Class Employee Engagement. And I am here with Reza from Deutsche Telekom. I'm so excited. We're all the way in Australia, and we've got a German and an American. But hey, that's what it is. And you just did an absolutely brilliant presentation. So I literally, after you presented, asked if you could come in and speak. And this whole book is about being rebellious. But as HR people, we don't always know how to be rebellious. We know we want to, but we're not exactly sure how do you be disruptive, how do you innovate. And what I find really fascinating is that's what you and your team is all about. So you're in charge of, what's the function that you're in charge of?
Yeah, so I think, let me maybe comment on what you said, that HR wants to be rebellious. I'm not always sure about this.
Some of us do, us rebels. The rebels we want to, yes.
Well, I think HR has been set up in a way in the past in organization not to take over the role as a rebel and as a challenger, rather than as the let's say, the police.
Yes.
So they control everything, they check everything, and they make it really, really sure that everything is really controlled and really checked.
Yes.
So probably that determines a bit the mindset that is there. And so my story is I'm heading an HR department. My background is not HR. So I used to be in management consulting. And
you have a PhD in innovation.
I have a PhD in innovation. And I have never been working in HR before, so my focus was really program management and launching telco operators, business transformation of telco operators across the world. So Deutsche Telekom's HR unit took a decision to say, okay, we need this type of disruption. Yeah, we need change from within, and the approach that was taken is to say, let's think about it strategically and structurally. And first, to have a structure, so to have an entity like an innovation lab, like a disruptor within the HR organization, and this is let's say the mission of my unit. It's called HR Digital and Innovation, and our mission is to challenge the status quo, how we do things in HR today.
And I think you are right. It's funny because even when we came up with the title of the book, we went out to lots of people because some of us were afraid to use the word rebel, because you are right. There are a lot of us, I've been doing HR for over 20 years, you know, and you are right. A lot of us, we're brought up doing it one way after another. And we were afraid the word rebel would make people feel uncomfortable, but we thought that's actually not bad, because if we are going to be able to keep up with the future of work, you need to be disruptive.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I have been using the term corporate guerrilla for my unit.
Yes.
Because we should not be alienated from the organization. Yes. We should be part of the organization, and maybe to plant the seed for a new organization. So and I think it's very important not to be alienated from the legacy. In a way, rather being part of it to some extent, and also being able to have an external view on how things are working and how things are happening there. I think the term rebel is right, but I would feel uncomfortable to use the term for myself. I would prefer
corporate guerrilla is more comfortable.
Corporate guerrilla, is more comfortable, and I think, but at the end of the day, it should be others that give such a judgment.
Yeah. That's an interesting point. You want people who are looking at you saying, wow, you're rebellious, you're a disruptor, you're innovative.
Well, honestly speaking, yes, happy about it, but on the other hand, don't really care about it. I want that people see we create impact. Yes. And by changing things, you can create impact. And I want to create this type of what we call endemic transformation, so that people follow us, that people are convinced that we are not working because we have a mandate from the board or from a CXO, that we rather work with other units on changing them, disrupting them, because they heard about us, they have seen the relevance maybe somewhere else. And sometimes they're so desperate that they have no other choice. Yeah, so we have all of this in one. But for me, it's important that people, that my legacy is not, okay, this was the rebel, because sometimes rebels stay rebel forever and they are in a kind of filter. My focus is, he was a rebel and he created impact and changed something.
And I think that's really important, because innovation is about making an impact. It's not just innovating just for the sake of innovating. And that's why you're right, the word rebel sometimes has that connotation of you're just doing that just because you want to be loud and disruptive, but it's being more impactful and effective in the disruption.
Exactly. And this is probably the biggest challenge for HR, because I don't see HR that much impactful. And maybe this is why you know, someone non-HR has been taken into this role, as a consultant, you understand how to run projects. You know the complexity of moving from concept design into implementation, and this is despite all, let's say all the fuzzy things I was showing in my presentation, that I'm really focusing with my team on implementation.
So if we don't have the pleasure of having a department like yours, I mean, you're going to get lots of people calling you and saying, can you create this at my company? What are the types of things that we can do? So you said, you know, process-oriented, project-oriented. What can we learn from people like you that we can do ourselves?
So I think number one is, let's say 1,000 things that you do and small steps that you take are more important than big words and glossy PowerPoints that you create. So the first recommendation is really start small, but start. Pick one thing, pick one project, be it with approval of the board or without. I can tell you, I'm now in my 4th years, of which 3 years I was doing things without any approval. I was not asking for permission, but for forgiveness. So this is the important thing. Just do one thing, because people, if you create and change, if you show you can do things differently, you can simplify, digitize, whatever, then no one will blame you. And even in our company, if you do things and they don't turn out to be successful, at least you have tried it. So you've shown courage. And in a German company, you know, who should fire you? This is Europe, it's not the US. So labor law is so strict, so you can afford a couple of failures. You're a bit safer. So first recommendation: start small, but start. And I agree. Not going in too much conceptual work and over-engineer. I think HR sometimes tends to over-engineering. And start small, but start. The second is, when you want to start, don't try to convince people. I'm sure in each and every company you have those rebels. You have those people that want to do things differently than they are done today. So this is what I call coalition of the willing. I know you had a former president who was using this in another context, but I like this term, coalition of the willing. Start small with a coalition of the willing. I can tell you, then, you know, half of the success is already there.
So how do you go about finding this coalition who are going to help you? What have you done in your organization?
Well, we have been, you know, thinking out loud, working out loud, applied this principle. So to in an early stage, without ourselves really knowing, you know, what are we actually going to do and how are we going to do. I was talking to other leaders about, you know, their ideas, what they want to do and how things are going and what they want to change, etc., etc. And so this is how we started. This is how we started with one project. Actually, funny enough, it wasn't in the innovation unit. It wasn't in product development. It was with the compliance unit.
Wow, you wouldn't expect it in
you
that
wouldn't
unit
expect
first.
It. No. And they said, okay, you know, they said, you know, we are more and more, you know, we have to admit that we are not successful with the way how we want to convince people about, you know, data privacy and security, creating security awareness. So they engaged with us, and we applied, you know, we understood, okay, the real problem is they are not reaching out to the employees, and we applied our approach, which is based on design thinking, and we came up with completely different results. And these completely different propositions and solutions created impact. And this is how all the story began.
Right, and it's that first story that then others will hear.
And since that story, in 4 years, 400 additional projects.
Wow.
400 we managed, and everything on pull. Not a single one was push.
You have to make them want you to come by proving
exactly.
yourself.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, you talked about design thinking, which, funnily enough, Josh Burson used that term in his presentation also.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because not everybody might be familiar with that terminology.
But before that, because you're coming back to your statement, and I think maybe this is one of the key things HR has to learn, because HR was always set. Yeah. They never worked in, you know, in customer terms, that you need to provide a product which is attractive, where there's a pull behind, because HR is HR. Right. So you have to take what we offer you, and this customer centricity is missing in HR. Yeah. And now I come to design thinking, and I think this customer centricity, employee centricity that HR requires, listening to leaders, listening to employees. I'm surprised that I hear that I know a lot of HR experts that create HR products, design processes without ever having talked to anyone on the business unit. So we need to learn employee centricity, and design thinking is actually a great way to deploy this. So we actually deploy design thinking, a method that comes from product innovation. Right. We deploy it on redesigning HR products and HR processes. So we literally just tried it out, how it works. We got some inspiration from other companies that were, you know, pioneering the use of design thinking, for example, in redesigning the recruitment process. And so we learned from this few companies, and then found our own way. And today, it's really the case. So we have a kind of, let's say, I call it soft governance. So no HR manager in our company is enforced to make use of design thinking, but reality is all of them want. So the situation I have now with my team, we have more demand than we can currently cover with design thinking experts, and this is a good situation. So this type of mind shift. Okay,
starting with the customer and thinking about what we're doing as a product. So
starting with the user, and the customer can be the employee.
Yep.
Or it can be the end customer. So starting really with the user, thinking about what is the real problem of the user. And then from that point going to what type of ideas can we generate to solve the user's problem, and allowing an ideation which is out of those corporate thinking and corporate feasibility boundaries. So really going for wild and radical ideas. And then bringing those ideas into prototypes, testing the prototypes with real users, not with HR experts, real users. And after proper testing, allowing failure, going back to square one, doing iteration, maybe creating new prototypes, then coming to the point, okay, which one are we going to deploy now?
But it's such a great way of thinking about it, because I know, like in HR for a while there, we were trying to think like marketers and how we market our product. But this is almost taking a step back and thinking like a product development team, and how do we develop a product?
Yeah.
And you're right, as HR, we never really look at it through that lens. I think it's really a helpful way to do it.
Exactly, and I think particular for, let's say, for this mega challenge, and I don't see this as a trend. It's the new reality of a digital world. And living and working in the digital age requires to rethink a lot of things that we do. Like in the past, when every major corporation had a corporate university, those corporate universities now transfer into digital academies. In the past, I don't know, you had your at the airport your boarding ticket. Now you have your mobile check-in, etc. So things move into the digital world. And some of the things we cannot transfer one-on-one, the way they used to be. And this is a key challenge for HR to redesign, redesign learning, for example. And this is what I think, this is my interpretation of Josh's words when he talks about design thinking in HR, that we need to understand we don't need HR product managers. We need HR experienced designers. So we shouldn't just, this is the process on performance management, this is the product. We should think about what is from a user's perspective, what is his journey that he takes with us in a specific area, and to make this journey as inspirational, as insightful, as simple sometimes as possible. And this is for me designing an HR experience. So that means we need more of design thinking competences, design thinking expertise within HR to be applied on HR.
So how do HR people learn those types of processes and mindset and such? Because you are right, it's new.
Yeah. So we truly believe the best way of learning is on the job. So that's why we have our learnings, and one key finding was we should not train people the method and then just hope some magic will happen. What we do is we only go into areas where they can define us a specific business challenge. Creating a new leadership development program, reviewing the performance management process, rethinking the employee referral.
So start with the challenge.
Start with a business challenge. Once this is kind of defined, then think about how to set it up in a design thinking approach. And the design thinking approach can be, we have a format which is called Nerd Campus. So we bring in people together for 4 weeks, and then literally lock them.
Nerd Campus.
Nerd Campus, which is a creative space. We put people in for 4 weeks, and then they have to solve the issue. However, getting people for 4 weeks, and this is cross-functional. So we have really across all hierarchies, different units, so that to overcome silo thinking.
It's a hackathon on steroids, because hackathons are for a day. You do it for 4 weeks.
HR is is more complex. We can't do it in a day, in a one-day hackathon, not yet. So and sometimes we do such Nerd Nation formats. The other thing is we do like what is known from other companies and other contexts is design sprints. So a 1 week design thinking workshop where we apply exactly identifying you give the business challenge, but then reframe the business challenge to identify the real problem. Then go out, talk to real people, getting customer insights, designing the user journey, going into ideation, developing prototypes, testing the prototypes, and then decision making. And honestly speaking, this works. The method is great. People love the tools like stakeholder mapping, cultural probes, prototyping, ideation napkins. They like it, but I think they like it because it's new. But the key success factors, believe it or not, is decision making. That at the end of, that we start usually on a Monday, we end on a Friday, that on Friday we have a decision. And be it the right one or the wrong one, but we have a decision.
Because you've gone through this type of process, and it helps you get to that decision.
And the biggest barrier towards change is that in the corporate mindset, sometimes people think, okay, I'm more safe. I'm more safe by not taking any decision. If I don't take a decision, I can't do anything wrong.
Right.
And this mindset, this is something that we have to change, that we say, okay, even we want you to fail.
Right. Well, it's holding people back because it's doing things the same way as we used to.
Exactly.
And you are right. Just the idea of, giving it a go. Yeah. Definitely. So what kind of final recommendations would you have for people? Because I know you've inspired me. I've already thought about 3 different processes. I'm going to go back, and something about a napkin. I'm not sure. I'll call you on that one. What kind of recommendations can you have to give us a start in doing it?
Take maybe, first of all, if you want to start with it, take not the most complex process. Start with an
try it
easy
on
one.
something smaller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Learn on the job.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't need to go into a lengthy design thinking education. Learn it on the job, and be ready to give up something that
I like that.
you know what design thinking what in design thinking is called kill your darlings. So
You said that today.
so that
so what does that mean?
that means you know, in my words, that means you may have been the greatest HR hero in the past, in 3 years or 5 years ago, and you may have set up a fantastic, I don't know, corporate university or a fantastic performance management process. That was right at the time, but times are changing, and they are changing fast, and you should be ready to give up your baby.
Yeah.
You should be ready to give up your baby. It hurts.
Yes.
But the biggest preventers of change and of allowing innovations are the super innovators of the past.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why it is important to kill your darlings. And by the way, that's why in an organizational context, it's important to have cross-functional rotation. Yeah? So that you really enforce people after 3 years or maximum 5 years to change position. And
New way of thinking,
new way of
perspectives,
thinking, and
looking
that
at
you do a
things.
succession management that allows non-HR people or non-marketing people to enter into HR, enter into marketing or any other unit. This is how you progress. And our world is not about conserving the status quo.
Right.
Our world is really fundamentally changing a lot of things inside and outside the organization.
Great. Well, again, that was very helpful, very inspirational. At the end of these, I always say to go out and be a rebel, and I think that what you've done is you've given us some practical tools on what we can do to be disruptive and be innovative. So thank you very much. I'm going to start small and then get bigger.
But start.
I will start, yes. Great.
Great,
Thank
fantastic.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Debra.